Okay. VR. By now, you should be familiar with this term. There are many on the fence about the technology, the games, and its application in business. Whether you like it or not, it has finally landed, and there are a growing number of developers trying to make the best use of this state-of-the-art technology. But it wasn't always like this. Virtual reality has been a concept that first made its appearance in short stories in the early 20th century. To the 1960s, a device Sensorama drawing the viewer in while engaging multiple senses like smell and touch. The Aspen Movie Map came along in 1978, allowing users to take a look around the streets in either a summer, winter, or polygon mode. In fact, the researchers had to take individual pictures of every possible position around Aspen's city streets to achieve those first two modes. And when the 80s hit, Atari had a bash at their own lab for VR, but that crashed shortly after. However, two of their researchers kept their work, left Atari, and founded VPL Research, the first successful VR company. They licensed one of their tech to toy giant Mattel. Remember this bad boy? Nintendo's Power Glove is one of the world's first examples of affordable VR tech. Turn to the 90s saw the thesis work of PhD student Carolina Cruz Neira develop into the world's first cubic immersive room, a new projection system to chase humans' desire to be placed in a virtual reality. Followed on by Sega VR and Nintendo's Virtual Boy, which discontinued within a year of its release, Nintendo's second worst selling product. This leads us to the 21st century. In 2001, the SAS Cube became the first PC-based cube room. Things didn't pick up too much for VR technology after that. Google Street View came to us in 2007, but it wasn't until 2010 where the first Oculus Rift prototype landed. And it seems the powers that be were watching. Facebook bought Oculus in 2014 before any of devices from Oculus's 2012 Kickstarter had been shipped. And Sony jumped into the game with Project Morpheus, now known as PSVR. It seems, so far, these novelties, unlike their predecessors, aren't going away. So what does this all mean for education, if anything? Virtual reality is still reported to be one of the least published research topics in the technology-based learning field, yet it's been widely used to train people in the military, aviation and medicine industry since the 1970s. My question is, can VR be used effectively for language learning? Has anyone tried it? What were the results? Is it possible that in the future students can learn in a virtual learning environment without a traditional EFL teacher? There are parts of the world that spend so much money on English language education. Look at South Korea and Gangnam. $100,000 is spent to educate one student from kindergarten to high school, yet Korean students are well below the average in TOEFL scores amongst OECD countries. Total spendings on private tuition and language academies is 3% of the country's GDP. That's almost the equivalent to their health expenditure. Chang's work on the mechanism of language change in 2008 said that the ultimate goal of language learning is to use language accurately and appropriately. Language is not a science, it's an art, it's a culture. From my experience, one of the biggest issues that strikes students in an ESL classroom is their lack of willingness to communicate in that second language. Perhaps VR could help that, make them feel more confident in a virtual world. So let's go see what's happened out there. In 2011, a company from South Korea called POSTECH tried an immersive English study using VR to see if they could generate a willingness to communicate. Proposing a dialogue-based language learning system using spoken dialogue in a virtual environment. It involved speaking with non-playing characters, and the elementary students being tested could move to the next level only when they completed a grammatically correct sentence. Well, that's like taking your child to a toy shop to memorize the barcodes. Sounds fun, doesn't it? Well, in 2013, a study in Iran found that using a VR as a learning environment in an EFL classroom put learners in real-life situations where they could do real tasks and expose them to natural language. In Iran's case, however, the implementation is problematic due to poor internet, not enough equipment, and institutes and learners were simply not willing to part with their Iranian rial. In China, researchers from a Chinese university and one American university tried an experimental EFL program using the VR-focused program Second Life. This is an example of the use of a multi-user virtual environment, MUVE. Second Life is one of the most popular amongst this kind of platform. Post-analysis from this study showed that the program had a positive impact on students' EFL learning. Let's face it, students are speaking a foreign language. Why do it in a classroom when their peers could mock them, or you could visibly see them lose their confidence and sweat trying to find that correct response? Let them hide behind their avatars. Would you mock a 10-foot minotaur? From the 61 Chinese university students who participated, 20 took the Second Life program that provided them with the opportunities to interact with American students online through a variety of formats, from virtual tours to one-on-one for just 1 hour a week on a 6-week course. Despite the short time, the difference in improvement from pre-test to post-test amongst the Second Life group was significantly higher than the group without, who showed very little improvement. That included tasks as well as testing on pronunciation, intonation, and language use. That's right, even grammar improves better in a MUVE. The mere replication of reality won't prove as a distinct advantage compared to a real environment though. It's essential to include an aim to invoke speech and communication, achieving a task together. In Germany, they used the VR game Haunted as intercultural training. It required 2 playing characters, a ghost and a boy, to interact with the virtual environment and communicate with each other to scare everyone out of the room before they could move on to the next room. Gamification in the classroom has lent its aid to language acquisition since the dawn of EFL classes. One day, who knows? Hangman might be a VR game where students might actually care if the man hangs or not. So, I propose to research the effects of adopting virtual reality as a computer simulated environment, hybrid simulation, compared to ordinary instruction in an EFL classroom, using pre-test, post-test control group design, using standardized testing like TOEFL, TOEIC, or even IELTS. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.